we've been doing matter and magnets, and we did lessons on solids and liquids and gases, and then the transition was that some kinds of matter have different attributes. So one attribute is being magnetic. So that sort of was the lead into magnets. Today they had a bag of things, and they got to predict what would be magnetic and what would not be magnetic, and then actually test out what happened. And then we talked about those to see what sort of surprised them and what didn't. Yeah. So the penny's not, but this is, and it sort of holds it in place. They needed to be able to feel it and touch it and try what really did and really didn't work. You know, real stuff's always better. Kids start out thinking that everything metal is magnetic, and they get all, and then when it's not, they're like, oh. And so that really, I wanted to get to that part of the conversation, sort of get things in two places, because they think they know what everything is, and then they're surprised by some of it. I did distinctions with matter and not matter, and attribute and not attribute at the beginning of the unit, and it led to a really interesting conversation, because that is sort of an amorphous thing, and there were some things that are both. Like an orange is an attribute when it's a color of something. It's also a thing, and it would not be an attribute. So we ended up having to add another box to do things that are questioned, or the word light. Light is an attribute if you're talking about how much something weighs, but it's also a thing, and it could go in non-attribute. So it led us to some really interesting conversations. And the kids started doing it themselves in other parts of the day. Like one was trying to show what change was, and she did now and not now, and did a green tree and a fall tree. And she's only been in the country like 9 months. So that was after one day of doing it. So she adopted it and was able to use it to get her ideas across, which I thought was amazing. Distinctions is by far the easiest, I think. I mean, is or isn't, you know, we start with kids all day. I mean, it's just a matter of doing it in a much more specific fashion. Okay, what's something that's not magnetic? And how'd you know? I guess it's because the not, it does. It helps them define it. It helps them say, oh, I thought this was one, but now it's in the not, so I have to move my understanding over here a little bit because I thought that I had it, and now I don't, so I have to, you know, sort of narrow, almost, I guess it helps them narrow down what something means.